Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Wednesday, the 1st of October. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack from Graz, no less. How goes it, Chris?
How are we in October already? Is the year is rattling on. But without sounding like a couple of old middle-aged fuddy-duddies, let's talk about Rangers rather than the nights that are fair drawn in.
Yeah, but you've had quite the trip already, haven't you? You've had I've had this sort of bad experience before with Airbnb, but you've checked into accommodation numero 2, but not by choice.
Well, kind of by choice, because I decided that I wasn't staying the one that we had booked already. I got in here late last night, basically dumped my bags in the room, phoned home to check in, and then went straight out. And as you know, on these trips, you need to go for a wee something to eat and go for a beer and go and see a bit of the town. So I didn't really check out the digs on arrival. Got up this morning, and it wasn't quite up to the high standards that we set here at the Rangers Review. So I've decided to find myself an alternative bed for the next 2 nights. So as you say, here we are in accommodation number 2. The Wi-Fi works. The bathroom is clean, and we're good to go. So you do the show and then go and meet the rest of the boys. Go for a wee wander around about Graz. Lovely blue skies, not a cloud in the skies this morning. So a nice day for match day -1. So go for a wee bit of breakfast and coffee, and then busy day ahead. It's Graz at 2:30 and Rangers at 7:15. Interesting to see how both those press conferences go later on.
Yeah, what is Graz like? Because there's going to be a number of fans heading over, of course. Is there plenty to see, do, and drink?
We were speaking about that last night. We were out for something to eat. Not sure how many Rangers fans are actually heading over. Imagine 700-800 or so. Maybe someone might know the actual allocation, actual number of fans that are travelling. But no, a nice wee place. Quite like Bruges, actually. Quite quaint, I think is maybe the word. So I think if the fans that were in Bruges there enjoyed it and like some of the old buildings and the squares and that type of thing, I think they'll enjoy themselves here. So as anybody who's been on a Scottish press trip will know, Italian is the way forward. Italian, no matter what city you're in, no matter what corner of the continent you're on, it's always an Italian. So it was a bruschetta and a pizza last night for dinner, and a couple of beers to watch a couple of Champions League games. Found a pub, a couple of big screens, so had Chelsea on one TV, and then could look over my shoulder and catch up with Liverpool Galatasaray game as well. So a good night had by all.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think I've been to Austria a couple of times, been to Vienna, went to Klagenfurt back in the day for the Euros. I'm just trying to think what the main cuisine is. It's schnitzel, I think, that they're big on. Graz, is it more down the Italian side then, Chris? Is it? I'm just trying to think. My geography isn't the best for Austria. Is it? Where is it in terms of like Vienna or location?
I just know it's about an hour and a half from Frankfurt, because that's where we flew through.
Right, okay.
My knowledge outside of that isn't the best. We had a frantic dash through Frankfurt Airport yesterday, so I left from Edinburgh yesterday morning, and we only had an hour and 10 to get through Frankfurt. Anyone who's been through that airport will know it's not exactly an easy place to negotiate, but we managed to do it. Ran through various tunnels and upstairs, downstairs, through escalators and all sorts. Made it to the gate in time to get a bit of pizza and a beer before we boarded the second flight. So all's well that ends well.
Blue Nose John, as we know, good supporter to the channel, and he messages in. He says, I work at Frankfurt Airport, Chris. I don't think you would have bumped into him right enough given your mad dash through it, but he says in terms of cuisine, Wiener Schnitzel, yeah, absolutely, it's fantastic stuff. So if you're heading over to Graz, folks, then make sure you sample the local cuisine. And the beer as well, I'm sure. I don't need to say that to you. Right, before we delve into the Rangers news, a quick word for our podcast sponsors, Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust and proud partners of the Rangers Review with over 20 years of experience in the fencing game. These guys know what they are doing. They offer free consultations no matter how big or small the job is. And you also get 10% off if you use the code Rangers Review over on their website, willows-fencing.com. Right, well, the game tomorrow, of course, match day -1, as you say, Chris. I hate that phrase, incidentally. It's one of these modern football terms that is surfaced in recent years. But anyway, you quite rightly said it is press conference day. We'll hear from Russell Martin a little bit on. Graz are doing okay. Current Austrian reigning champions. I think in terms of maybe a step up from Genk. I think Genk were half decent, but Rangers of yesteryear put them to the sword. Under the current coaching staff and the way the team is playing, I would bite your hand off for a draw tomorrow night. Would you go along with that? I think they're second in the league at the moment, Sturm Graz. And reading yesterday, they've received a boost with the news that their Georgian playmaker, Otar Kitishvili, has been declared fit for the game as well. So he's a big player for them folks. So I remember, I'm old enough to remember the last time Rangers went to Graz, and it was a bit of an embarrassing display as they lost by 2-0 in that Champions League group stage. I think 2001 campaign. Rangers really should have done better over there, given that the players at Dick Advocaat's disposal and the fact that they pumped them 5-0 at Ibrox. I was just expecting Rangers to turn up and win, but I was proven wrong. And it was a bit of a disgrace, really. Rangers never made it out of that Champions League group, but I do digress. Rangers winning or getting a result tomorrow, Chris?
In terms of a result, like you, I would take a point. I said to Josh on the show the other day there, if you are nothing or no points from 6 in these first 2 games, you're not quite out of the running, obviously, but you've put yourself in a really difficult position. You look at the games that are still to come in this section. You know you've got Braga, you know you've got Roma, you know you've got Porto away to come. You don't really want to be in the position of needing to go to Porto, for example, and pick up a win to give yourself a shot at qualification. The fixtures fell quite kindly for Rangers in terms of Genk at home and then this trip, but they only fall kindly if you can then go and make the most of it, and if you can then go and capitalise on that. And of course, last week they never looked like doing that. That was a really poor start last week. If the performance is anywhere near that level, I don't see them winning. I don't see them winning tomorrow night, and say that would put them in a really tricky place. I think when we speak about Rangers in Europe, you have to remember that there's been a lot of change, not just this summer, but in previous summers. If this had been a Gerrard side, you'd back them to come here and win, no problem at all, because they were just masters at picking up results in European competitions. Now, we know that they failed domestically at times before they got it right. But again, the guys here were talking about some of those European nights under Gerrard and some of those results. A team like Genk, a Gerrard side just beats fairly comfortably at Ibrox.
A Clement team.
A team like Graz, a Gerrard side comes and beats fairly easily. And that's not to say it had to be the 55 invincible best of the Steven Gerrard side. I think even a first season Gerrard building a squad from absolutely nothing and trying to get them off and running. They come here and are good enough to get a result. Is this side good enough to come here and get a result? Not convinced. I don't think we've seen anywhere near enough from them to suggest that they can come and handle a European away day. The away days that they have had in Europe, they've also been really difficult ones. They managed to get through in those ties against Pilsen and Panathinaikos, and they deserve credit for that. But the last European away day, the least said about it, the better. And Russell Martin has to have learned an awful lot from that tie about how you approach these games. Yes, the sending off obviously changes it, but you then need to manage the game better. Would you back this Rangers side to go and keep a clean sheet tomorrow? Probably not.
No chance.
If they don't, you then need 2 to win the game. Do they have 2 goals in them? Well, if they get two shots on target early on, that might raise optimism levels a wee bit. But they just have to be so much better. And Rangers under Russell Martin in Europe was one of my big fears about him when he first got the job. Did he have the ability to put a side out like Gerrard did, like Gio did, obviously so famously, as you mentioned, even like Clement did in spells? Does he have that in him? If he's going to do it, it has to start tomorrow.
In terms of the European results, Sturm Graz, they were hoping to make it into the Champions League, but Bodo Glimt thrashed them 6-2 in aggregate, beat them 5-0 in Norway, and then Sturm Graz won 2-1 in the second leg. But it was an absolute gubbing, and they lost their first Europa League group stage match away to Midtjylland, a team. Just when you touched on Gerard's team, remember going over there and winning, was it 4-2 in the end? Rangers won, but it should have been more. And they were brilliant that night.
That's a Midtjylland team that only just got by Hibs earlier on, and
exactly.
It took till the last kick of the ball at Easter Road of that tie, and a remarkable, somewhat freak goal. They're not exactly European big hitters either, it has to be said.
Yeah, so it's a game that you're not exactly, you shouldn't be quaking in your boots, but just that this Rangers team, just nervous going into every single game at the moment, and especially European games, given what we witnessed last week against Genk, given what we witnessed against Bruges. I think Graz will fancy their chances, and I think they should be favourites heading into this game. It's important, Rangers. I think just for momentum, belief that they come away without a beating. If they can do that, I think most would be accepting of a point at least heading into Sunday, which again, said it on yesterday's show as well. You could probably just play last week's shows as this week, and we could take the week off. But of the two matches, Falkirk's a bigger game, Chris. There's no wiggle room, of course, in the league anymore. You were at that game at the weekend at Almond Vale. Rangers left it very late to come away with all 3 points in that game. I'm expecting it, and we'll dive on to Sunday's game more in detail after Thursday night's match. But that is a game that is, it's going to be testing for me for Rangers. I expect it, like the game on Sunday, to be pretty nip and tuck for much of it. But it's certainly the bigger game of the two. He has to win that one.
He does. These European games are a strange dynamic about them right now, because I think a lot of people would say Europe is not the priority. It has to be Premiership. It has to win domestic silverware. It have to be better domestically. European stuff, it's a bonus. The tips are good. A couple of nights at Ibrox against some of the bigger opposition will be good, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make a massive difference. You then have that perspective, but you can then also say, well, if he wins, he gets a wee bit of credit, but if he loses, he gets a lot more stick, and that's perhaps unfair on the squad and unfair on the manager. You have to decide how important this actually is, and then judge a win and a defeat fairly on that. It feels like if Rangers were to come here and win tomorrow night, it'd be a case of, well, that's great, but Sunday's a bigger game. If they're going to lose 2-0, it's then, see, we told you Russell Martin's not up to it, and all the narrative and all the criticism that we know very well now then comes back. So it's almost a no-win situation for them right now in terms of European games, which I don't think is that fair. But if you're going to ask me where would you rather pick up 3 points, then it has to be Falkirk. Rangers need to start building momentum in terms of the Premiership. They obviously got 2 points back against. They got 2 points back in that deficit with Celtic at the weekend, but that gap to Hearts is still big. It's still there. It's still very interesting, and it's going to get even more interesting as Hearts play these next couple of games, and we get a real sense of where they are with the Hibs game coming up, and they've got Celtic coming up as well. So domestically, it means so much to Rangers. As the comment said there's prize money and there's coefficient points at stake here as well. And that's the two aspects that Rangers simply cannot overlook. We spoke about it last week. That game at Ibrox cost you thick end £1 million maybe in terms of prize money that you should have. 9 times out of 10 you go and pick up, and the missed revenue from seats and programmes and all the rest of it. So it's you can't completely write off tomorrow night because there's too much at stake for Russell Martin. He needs to win games of football, but as I say, if you're going to pick, if you can pick one this week, for me it's Falkirk.
Yeah, It wouldn't be huge, I think, for him tomorrow, but I think you're quite right in saying that he wins tomorrow. He needs to win on Sunday. That is the crux of the matter. He can't, like I mentioned earlier on, no wiggle room for him anymore, given the poor start to the season. Incidentally, that game on Sunday, the match officials were confirmed yesterday. Matthew McDermott will be the man in the middle, with David McGeechee and Paul McAvinue as the linesman. Stephen McLean is on VAR duty alongside Graham Leslie. That match taking place at 3 p.m, which I much prefer a later kickoff as opposed to your 12 noon kickoff. So 3 p.m. at the Falkirk Stadium this coming Sunday. When was it like? You're not going on Sunday, are you, Chris? I think Joshua's heading over for us. But when was the last time you were at the Falkirk Stadium?
Well, a long time ago. Last time I was there might have been the day that Partick Thistle won the league, back in my previous incarnation.
Wow.
In this job, I used to be the Even Times Partick Thistle man.
Those were the days.
Oh, they were great. They were great days. Now that was actually dominant, free-flowing, attacking football. A very different brand of football than I've watched over most of this season. Anyway, I can't remember being back there for any of the Rangers ones. During obviously the couple of championship seasons, I remember watching some fairly poor ones, and obviously that pitch doesn't make for a great spectacle. But I don't think I've ever don't recall being there of late for a Rangers game. So that Jags one might be my last trip there.
I think the last time Rangers were there in a competitive sense, remember Gerrard took Rangers there for, was it a League Cup tie, and they played there pretty early on. The last time I was there, I think, was when I said this on the Q&A show for the extra members yesterday, was when Rangers under Mark Warburton went there. I think the league had just already been wrapped up, and they raced into a 2-goal lead before Falkirk came back in the second half and amazingly won 3-2. Remember in the press conference afterwards, Peter Houston says that is the biggest doing any of his teams have ever had in that first half. He himself couldn't believe that they came back and won the game. It was quite incredible. I think it was at a Friday night, if I'm not mistaken, over there. But yeah, it's good little ground. I like going there. Rangers have come up a cropper on occasion there, so you just hope that they're well up for it and they can come away with maximum points. But it's all about tomorrow, of course, that we're looking at just now, and some questions being put into our good selves. Dana Life says, what way would you set up tomorrow? And Peggy, just off the back of that as well, says, what formation should they go for? 5-3-2, she would like. I would like Rangers to be much more compact than they were, especially going down to 10 men last Thursday night. I just could not believe how open Rangers were after Diamande had been sent off in that second half. I just didn't get it. I don't think that plays into what Russell Martin, his beliefs and what he wants to do with this team. However, I expect Rangers to be wide open again. So then it's a case of personnel, who you play. I think from the team that started on Sunday, just off the top of my head, does Joe Rothwell come in? I think that is a big one for the European games. Does he come in? I know Connor Barron came in and started on Sunday. Does he drop out up front? Do you play two? I think that's a bit ambitious going into this game. I think that of the two strikers, Miovski is the one that would lead the line for me. I would potentially take Tello Asgard out. I've just not been overly impressed with his work rate, and I think you need guys that are going to run into the ground for you in European games, Chris. So he would be omitted for me. And then you get Gassama as an outball. The big question is, though, it's not only getting him on the ball, but asking him to go and beat his man, not just Gassama, but whoever is put over on that right-hand side. None of this cutting inside, playing the ball back and taking too many touches. Get it to your wingers, take on your man and get the ball into the box. That is what I would like to see from my white men tomorrow night. But in terms of personnel and shape, what do you think we're seeing?
That the 5 suggestion from Peggy's an interesting one, because I know the Bruges game also changes on the red card, but the previous games, Panathinaikos and Pilsen, Rangers really easy to play against, really easy to play through on those nights. And the further you get into European competition, and also the higher the level of opposition go, good teams are going to take goals and take chances off Rangers if they're too open. If they do go 5, which I'm actually not against, the 3 centre halves are then interesting. Does Aarons come back in on a high after his goal at the weekend? Does he come in and play right, and you then put Tav in as one of the 3, played in there before, has looked comfortable at centre half before, or do you bring Nasser Djiga back in, play him also alongside Suter and Cornelius? You've then got the issue, well, who plays wider? Do you have Tav? He's going to play, so if he's one of your wing backs on that right hand side, obviously, does Makoma then play off the left, which I think he probably does if he's fit? You then say, or as you're just speaking about there in terms of Gassama, where does he then fit in that side? Is there actually a role for him? Could you play him slightly more central and play him off Ashermiti or off Miovski potentially? But that's then maybe not getting the best out of him. So I wouldn't be surprised actually if it goes the same as Sunday. I know you mentioned Joe Rothwell there. Not convinced that he comes in. I actually thought Connor Barron was okay on Sunday. It wasn't a day of like outstanding Rangers performances, but I think Connor can be pleased with how he came in and played. Obviously, there's no Diomande, so that takes that out the equation. So it is probably Barron or Rothwell. Rothwell, I think, has been too exposed in these European games. So I would, if it's going to be a similar setup, I would go for Connor Barron, and obviously Nico Raskin starts in there as well. If it does go with Asgard, like you mentioned there, it has to be better. We just need to see more from him, both in terms of work rate and certainly more creativity and more guile. Was brought into this squad to provide that X factor in the final third, and is playing far too deep. He's not in areas to go and play games and to go and hurt teams. Now, is that a case of the player himself saying, I need to get on the ball? If I'm going to get on the ball, I'm going to have to drop a wee bit further because the build-up's a bit slow. If I go to the ball, I'll then get more chances to get on it. Or is that Russell Martin saying, this is the area that I want you to be operating in? If that's the way that Russell Martin sees him playing, and that's the area that he wants him to play in, don't really see what we're getting out of him, or what you're getting out of anyone in that role, because you're just far too deep to be able to actually influence games.
Asgard's a bit of an issue for me. Listen, I think he's a decent enough player, but I've said this before. I know a few folk that down at Wigan, where he was a decent player for them, but it's the view that he drifts in and out of games, and I just had a bit of a concern that it's all right looking good at Wigan at points, and I never watched him much at Luton. He wasn't there for long, but listen, the level is League One, bottom end of the Championship. Can he do it week in, week out with the expectation and all the eyes on him to go and influence games and really do the biz? That is my concern. And a lot of money has been spent on him. So there is an expectation, given that money and the outlay, that he can deliver. But I would like to see more from him. My worry is, will we? That is up to him. Chris Explains Rangers says, Derek secretly wanting 4-4-2. Of course, Chris. I would like that every single game. But I do not think Russell Martin goes along with that, I've got to say. Bruno Sparky, very confident heading into the game. He says 3-1. With Miovski, Asgard and Gassama getting the goals. So, I would love to share your optimism, Sparky, on that one. How many are we expecting over there, fans-wise, Chris? I think was it allocation, is it about, I have no idea. How big's the ground, 30,000 or something like that?
As to say that on, but we're speaking about that last night in terms of the number of fans that would be heading over. I'm assuming 700-800 or so, but I don't actually know. So if anyone does know the actual allocation, you've seen obviously Rangers fans travelling huge numbers from all across the continent, across different seasons, under different managers, different fortunes. You can guarantee the Rangers fans will turn up. As we said right at the top of the show, a nice place here for them to come and see. But it's 3 points and it's a result and a performance that they want, rather than some pictures of some nice fountains and a bit of local cuisine. So if we're all heading for home on Friday morning and Rangers have actually turned up and performed and they have got 3 points, then it would certainly be a far better tip than Bruges was, because that Friday morning was a difficult one, put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Let's hope that is the case. Someone asked, incidentally, earlier on, if I'm going any trips. I've booked one, Budapest, buddy, whoever it was that was messaging in. So looking forward to that. I've never been to Budapest before, but I was supposed to go when the Euros were on back in the day before COVID happened, and all the games pretty much get kiboshed. So very much looking forward to heading over there later on in the year. So but that is pretty much it for now. Well, just a bit of news from yesterday as well. Of course, we're not long to go now before another international break. I'm sure we're all jumping for joy at that. But a couple of Rangers call-ups, unsurprising you could say. Liam Kelly and John Souttar have been named in the Scotland squad for the upcoming fixtures against Greece and Belarus, the World Cup qualifiers for the big tournament next summer. So, they have been called up. There was a question yesterday, actually, Chris, just on the topic of Souttar. And someone on the Q&A yesterday says, is it about time that Djiga was recalled and put back into the team in place of Souttar? The comment was that he's looked a bit leggy of late. Do you think we might see that? I mean, Nasser Djiga's been kicking his heels ever since Derek Cornelius came on at halftime against Hearts, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Not been seen since. When are we seeing Nasser Djiga again, do you think?
Hard to tell, because ideally you're looking for a partnership that you can build something around and build a bit of confidence, not just individually but collectively. So you build that confidence in the partnership, you build confidence throughout the rest of the team. If Rangers look a bit more solid defensively, I think we're still waiting for that, for Rangers to look really accomplished as a defensive unit. Some people, the more cynical viewers, will say that will never come under the current setup. But I think you'll see Souttar and Cornelius for the foreseeable. That looks like the most reliable partnership at present. Djiga looked okay in spells early on. Hasn't really recovered from a difficult few weeks, as you say. Just can't get himself back in the side now. But at least it's not £3.5 million worth of Manny Fernandes, who can't even get in a squad right now. So defensive issues and defensive questions.
Yeah, we'll hear from Russell Martin later on, and we'll get a squad update as well, who is in the squad for tomorrow and who perhaps is missing out. So, we'll hear from him around about now local time. You're an hour ahead, Chris, there. Is it 6:30 local time? We're expecting Russell Martin to speak, or is that UK?
6:45 local time, so 5:45 UK time. So hopefully Rangers are on time there. Also training this morning, and then they're flying out. So we'll get the training pictures and training footage through just shortly, hopefully. So keep an eye out on the website and the socials for those updates. And so we'll then have the full press conference on the YouTube. We'll have the full Q&A on the website, and I believe I'll be joining you for a press conference video at some point later on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So keep your eyes peeled for that, folks. Until then, enjoy your morning and afternoon, whatever you are doing. Just a reminder, mention this every show these days, but if you have not downloaded the app on your phone, on your Android or your Apple, the Rangers Review app, then make sure you do that, because that's the easiest way to consume all your Rangers Review content. The all-important links are below this video. Right, we'll speak to you later. Bye for now.